been nice to be part of the this retinal community on Facebook. I haven't posted anything for a very long time, and I thought I would come in here with a video and kind of give you guys a rundown of this saga in short terms. It was October 2020, sitting at my desk. This thing just folds over, which means that the injury was down here. I go to the doctor in Bloomington, and they say, well, you've got a detached retina, and we got to get you up to Indianapolis right away. So I go up to Indianapolis, see a doctor up there, and he looks at it and says, well, we got to get you on the surgery table. This is something we can't let go. And he does the surgery. I don't know the long names, most of the long names and stuff, but basically the surgery where you put it back, put a bubble in the eye, sent me home to lay face down. I ended up getting a massage table. It has one of those face things, and man, I was diligent. I was in that sucker all the time. Now the injury, I'm going to use my head like an eye, the injury would have been down in this area in the back. So I had to lay forward and to the side just a little bit, keep that bubble right there. Well, it was 3 weeks, and after seeing him a couple times and being told everything's as good as it can possibly look, it fails. And exact same thing. And you rush back to him again, and I ask him if this procedure is 90% effective and successful, why is it that this failed? And he said, these things just happen. All right, we'll leave it at that. That's the first thing that a doctor said that I go back to and go, okay. So then he did the scleral buckle, which was infinitely worse than the first surgery. More painful, longer healing time. I was down, face down for a long time. The healing took a long time. And when I came out of it, the vision out of that eye was super poor. Things were wavy, and had double vision, and just a lot of problems. Went to a local doctor, the ones that had sent me to Indianapolis, and they said that there was scar tissue on the retina and that needed to be dealt with. And I said, well, can you do it? And they, oh no, this guy was all, that doctor did the work up north, and he's the one that's familiar with your eye, and he needs to be the one to fix this. And at the time, I distinctly remember thinking, that man's tone has the sound of, I don't want to be involved in the lawsuit in it. I'm not a fellow to sue anybody. But he evidently saw something that he thought was a problem from this doctor who did the first two surgeries and didn't want any part of it. Well, that was enough for me to seek help somewhere else. So I do my research, and I ended up going up to see Dr. Pendergast up in the Cleveland Eye Clinic, which is about a 3-hour drive for me. So I drive all the way up there to see Dr. Pendergast. He's supposed to be one of the best in the nation at this. And he looks in that eye, and he says, well, you've got epiretinal membrane. And I said, well, the other guy said it was scar tissue. He goes, it's an epiretinal membrane. I mean, it's essentially scar tissue, but if he knew what he was talking about, he'd call it epiretinal membrane. And we got to do an epiretinal peel. So evidently the scar tissue that's on the retina, they peel it off. Also, supposed to be a very successful procedure. But before we do that, so I can see well, your lens is cloudy. I need you to get cataract surgery. All right, so I go back to Bloomington, see another eye doctor there that specializes in LASIK and cataracts and things like that. And he does the cataract surgery. And when I come out of that, I can't see very well, but everything's bright. And oddly, what's in this eye is bigger than what's in this eye. We'll get to that later. But now I'm ready to go get the epiretinal peel. So off I go back up to Cleveland Eye Center, and he puts me on the table for an epiretinal peel. Now, you're awake for these things, and I saw the tool go in and kind of do something, and then it looked like it slipped or came out and then went back in, and I heard the doctor say something to the guy he was with, sort of like, oops, and was pretty concerned that something might have gone astray in that procedure. Well, get checked out after that, and the next day I ended up staying in the area for 2 days because the pressure in that eye was really super low. I don't know much about these things. Wasn't enough air in my tire, and so I stayed there until that came back, and then saw Dr. Pendergast right after that. So it was like 2 or 3 days after the surgery, and I can see better, but not good. And there's now in the center of my eye, if I were to look at the car in front of me and look at the license plate, I can see the license plate. Around it is a foggy area with jagged edges, and on both the outside and the inside of this thing. It's kind of hard to describe, but beyond that, it's fairly okay, and in the center of that, it's fairly okay too. So if I'm looking at an eye chart, I can read pretty far down, not 20/20, but 1 or 2 up from that, I can see the letters pretty clear. But the thing is, I got to take that circle that's good and put it on each letter to see it. So it's not good vision by any means, and that fog's around it. So when I'm seeing Dr. Pendergast, I mean, this appeared right after this epiretinal surgery. So I'm seeing Dr. Pendergast, and I say, he says, well, everything looks good. The swelling's gone down. Retina's smooth. I said, well, what's this thing going on? I guess this was a week later. What's this thing going on? He goes, I don't know, but the retina's smooth and the swelling's gone down and you look good. And I asked him a third time, okay, I'm glad of all that, but doctor, I'm very concerned. I have this thing, and I drew a picture and I explained it in great length. I said, what is this thing? And where's it come from? It showed up the morning after your surgery. And he says, I don't know what that is. Everything else looks great. I don't see any reason for you to come back. Wow. He injured my eye in that surgery. He knew what it was. He said 3 times he didn't know what it was. And then he suggested I never come back and see him again. Well, I end up going back to Bloomington. And I go to another doctor down there because I'm so concerned about this. That doctor puts me through a great deal of tests. And he's not associated with the first people. He's not associated with the people in Indianapolis. Not associated with Cleveland. He's an all independent guy. Puts me through a bunch of tests. Puts dye in my blood, and it's in the veins and vessels of my eye. And he can see a lot of stuff. And he's with me like an hour and a half to figure this out. He comes back and says that the cones, whatever, we all know rods and cones, but specifically I couldn't tell you, but he said the cones had been damaged back there. But he wouldn't commit. I said that happened, the day before surgery I didn't have it, the day after surgery I had it. That is that something that could have happened from that? Everyone doesn't want to commit to saying that a mistake has happened. And I'm not trying to sue anybody. I'm just trying to find out what the truth is about my eye. yeah, but not really, but probably sort of, that kind of vague language. But we know for sure that the rods or the cones are damaged. I think Pendergast up in Cleveland knew that the cones were damaged. He didn't want to talk about it. This guy wants to talk about it, but didn't want to say anybody particularly did it. I go back to see the doctor that did the cataract. He was the one that kind of wanted to follow up with everything last. And he looks at it. And I got the first guy that said, I don't know, these things happen. Pendergast, who said, I don't know what that problem is. I don't see any reason for you to come back. And then this doctor who put this cataract lens in, he examines me, and I can kind of see, and I can read the chart, but they don't work well together. This one's like set up for seeing really far away, and I've got really bad nearsightedness in this one over here. And his last words to me were, let's do this. He gave me a prescription that I haven't filled that essentially I can see out of this eye through a lens, and this eye, I don't know what it looks like on the other side because I was too upset to figure it out. But basically, if I close this eye and look with this eye, it's just like white frost. Sort of eliminates it, but somehow it gives, I don't know, tricks the brain into something. Anyway, I never got that fixed. Never got that filled out. And the last thing that doctor says to me, the cataract doctor, and this is a quote, he says, boy, I wish I would have put a different lens in there. Oh, well. So here's where I'm at. I don't believe that I'm going to be able to use this eye in any meaningful way. I'm hoping to get some pair of glasses that allows people to see my eyes, so that, old Grandpappy Hondo doesn't have this thing on his face for the rest of his life. And I've got doctors who said, these things just happen. I don't know. I don't see any reason for you to come back. And gee, golly, I wish I would have put a different lens in there. Oh, well. I don't have a whole lot of faith in the eye medicine community right now. I've traveled to what was supposed to be the best there is, and that guy blew me off after damaging my eye. I wish you all well. I really do. And for those of you that have success stories, bless you. I'm glad. I'm happy for you. I'm not a pessimist. I'm actually a really optimistic person. But I've yet to find a doctor in this world who, one, gives a shit, and two, does excellent work. That's been my experience. I wanted to share it with you. If you want to comment on this, great. If you want to message me privately, that's fine. We can have a conversation about it. If you have some ideas on how I can get my sight back in this weird eye. I mean, it's there, but it's not usable. Sight is such a personal thing. It's almost impossible to explain to somebody what you mean when you say those things, and what you're seeing and what you're not seeing, and what you're supposed to see, and what part is being affected, and how. And they can only tell if you can read the letters on the chart and see any physical damage, but the rest is very tough to get across to anybody, and very tough to find somebody that cares to stay in the room more than 3 minutes and listen to you try to get it across. So best of luck to all of you. I'm sorry you're walking this path. I'm glad for your successes. Don't worry about the other one too much. No sense worrying about things you don't have any control over. I will tell you this, a little side note. I had some back problems in my life, and I used a inversion table, where you hang upside down like a bat. And I had great success with that on my back. After I had this happen, I made the decision all on my own without doing any research. I bet hanging upside down puts an unusual amount of pressure on one's eye, and maybe I shouldn't use that anymore. So I haven't. It's been almost 2 years, and my back problems came back. And I was talking to the back doctor at the ortho clinic and told him that whole story. He goes, you need to check with your eye doctor and see if you can use that inversion table, because I've had a lot of people have a lot of good luck on inversion tables. And I've heard that a lot of times. So I actually didn't ask my doctor. I Googled it, and sure enough, hanging upside down causes high internal ocular pressure and can be a contributing factor to eye problems, including retinal detachments. So I'm not doing that, and if any of you are doing that, it's something to consider, whether you want to continue or not. I'll leave it there. I think 16 minutes long enough. If you made it through the whole thing, thanks. I appreciate it. And like I said, best of luck to everybody. Cheers.